Anthropic's new $2 model just beat their own 5 times more expensive flagship at real office work. Everyone is celebrating the price tag. Almost nobody has read the fine print that can quietly raise your AI bill 35%, starting September 1st. I run my whole product on Claude, so I read it. Let me show you what they buried. Here's what actually happened on June 30th. Anthropic released Claude Sonnet 5 and made it the default model for every free and pro user. If you've opened Claude this month, you're already talking to it. For developers, the launch price is $2 per million input tokens and $10 per million out. But read the label. That's introductory pricing, and it expires August 31st. After that, it's $3 in, $15 out. Compare either number to Opus 4.8 at 5 and 25, and you see the pitch, near flagship intelligence at less than half the price. Now, this matters way more than a normal point release, because the money in AI right now is in agents. Coding agents, browser agents, document agents. And agents burn tokens like nothing else you've ever deployed. So when a model this cheap lands this close to flagship performance, every builder has to redo their math. And there's a bigger story underneath this launch. Anthropic just overtook OpenAI on revenue, $47 billion annualized against roughly $30. They didn't get there by winning a chatbot popularity contest. They got there by selling tokens to companies at scale, which means Sonnet 5's price tag isn't just a number, it's a weapon in a price war. So let's check whether the intelligence actually backs it up. The benchmarks are genuinely impressive, with one asterisk. On SWE Bench Pro, the hard, agentic coding test, Sonnet 5 scores 63.2%. That crushes the old Sonnet 4.6 at 58.1. But Opus 4.8 still leads at 69.2, so on serious coding the flagship keeps a 6-point gap. Then it gets weird. On OS World, which tests actually operating a computer, Sonnet 5 hits 81.2%. And on GDP-Val, which measures real knowledge work, the reports and analysis and spreadsheet stuff, Sonnet 5 scores 1618. Opus scores 1615. Read that again. The cheap model just edged out the flagship at everyday office work. That's the real headline for me. For most day-to-day tasks, there is now basically no reason to pay flagship prices. The gap only survives in one place, deep agentic coding. And even there, anyone upgrading from Sonnet 4.6 gets 5 points for free. One more number worth knowing. On humanity's last exam, the brutal frontier reasoning test, Sonnet 5 posts 57.4%. A year ago, no model on Earth was anywhere near that. The mid-tier is quietly becoming what the flagship used to be. Let me show you the announcement itself, because two details are easy to skim past. This is Anthropic's launch page, scrolling through it now. First, notice how much of this page is about long-running agent tasks, holding context over hours of tool use without drifting. That's the actual product here. The benchmark table is just the evidence. Second, look at the pricing section. That $2 figure everyone is quoting sits next to the word introductory. The real list price, starting September, is $3 in and $15 out. Still cheaper than Opus, sure. But it's 50% higher than the number in every headline this week. If you're budgeting a product on $2 per million, you're budgeting on a promo code. And there's one more line, buried in the developer docs, that almost no coverage mentioned. It's about the tokenizer. Hold that thought, because it quietly changes this whole story. Cost neutral. That's Anthropic's framing for this upgrade. But my calculator watch and I ran the numbers, and cost neutral is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Here's the catch. Sonnet 5 ships with a new tokenizer. That's the machine that chops your text into the little billable pieces called tokens. And the same input that cost you 100 tokens on Sonnet 4.6 can cost anywhere from the same, up to 35% more tokens on Sonnet 5, depending on what kind of content it is. Code and structured data sit at the expensive end. So walk through the math with me. Say your app sends 100 million input tokens a month on Sonnet 4.6. At $3 per million, that's $300. Run the exact same traffic through Sonnet 5, and it can tokenize into 135 million tokens. At the $2 launch price, that's $270. Fine, slightly cheaper. But after August 31st, at $3, that same month costs over $400. That's a 35% raise, dressed up as a price cut. Anthropic even set the intro price so the transition from 4.6 feels neutral. Their own materials basically say so. The discount isn't generosity, it's anesthesia. And to be fair to Anthropic, tokenizers don't change for fun. Finer-grained tokens usually mean the model reads code and structured data more precisely. But precision for the model and cost for your invoice are two different conversations, and only one of them made it into the launch post. Now the builder's view, because this is where it gets personal. My product, Filify, reads long documents and fills out forms. Big inputs, tiny outputs. That shape of workload is exactly where the tokenizer tax bites hardest. You pay the inflation on every single page you send in, and the cheap output side barely helps you. If your app looks like mine, document processing, retrieval, summarization, do not migrate on vibes. Log your tokens per request on 4.6, run the same traffic through Sonnet 5, and compare billable tokens, not list prices. 10 minutes of logging beats a surprise invoice. But if your app is output-heavy, chatbots, content generation, agents that write walls of code, the math flips in your favor because output pricing dropped by the same third and your bill is mostly output. And if you just use the Claude app rather than the API, none of this applies. You got a near flagship brain for free, and you should absolutely be using it. That asymmetry, by the way, is the quiet genius of this launch. Consumers get a pure upgrade and generate the hype. Builders inherit the fine print. Same model, two very different deals, one press release. So the budget model beats the flagship at office work, and the price cut is secretly a raise. Both of those are true at the same time. Welcome to AI pricing in 2026. So here's my verdict, as someone who ships on Claude every single day. If you're a regular user, there's nothing to decide. Sonnet 5 is your new default. It's excellent. Enjoy it. If you're a builder, 3 moves. 1. Test now, while the $2 window is open. You have until August 31st to run your evaluation at a discount, and that deadline is real. 2. Measure your actual token counts before and after, because your workload shape, not Anthropic's pricing page, decides whether this is a price cut or a price hike wearing a costume. And 3. Keep Opus 4.8 only for the work that genuinely needs that 6-point coding gap, and route everything else to Sonnet 5. That one routing decision will save most teams more money than any amount of prompt tweaking ever will. The model is real. The intelligence per dollar is real. Just read the meter yourself instead of trusting the sticker. Next up, GPT 5.6 is landing in 3 flavors, Sol, Terra, and Luna. And the cheap one, Luna, is aimed at exactly this price point. I'm putting it head-to-head with Sonnet 5 on real work, real documents, real code, real invoices. Subscribe so you don't miss the showdown.